Okay, so I was asked recently to kind of showcase the work I've done in the past, all the way up until now, starting from the beginning. And I think it's taken me a while to set up for this video. Hopefully it doesn't take forever to get through it before my battery dies. Anyway, um, I've done a lot of flint knapping, and I've gone through a lot of material since 2009, when I could actually start making reasonable looking points. And most of these that you see here are done between 2013 2014. Well, probably more early than that, 2012 2013. Okay. When I first started, let's see here, these are some of my very first points, and I didn't even know I had these. My mother actually saved these. But these are some of my very first points that I made back in 2007 when I started. From 2007 to 2009, I made mostly gravel and this type of point. Now, these points are made with, believe it or not, with a pair of pliers and a pointed piece of steel, a butter knife actually, where I pressure flake the edges with steel and crunch the edges, or nipped the edges, with a pair of pliers. That's how I started. I really didn't have any idea of flint knapping at all, and I was amazed at the guys that already had, 20, 30, maybe 40 years experience knapping before I started. And I can't imagine, if it wasn't for the internet, I can't imagine how I would ever know about this stuff. The original knappers must have been a very tight-knit group, or exposed to knapping through universities or something. Anyway, I had never seen anyone do any flint knapping before I got on YouTube in 2005, and I started in 2007. Okay, I've also hafted quite a bit of material and used a lot of stone tools. I don't have a lot of videos on how to use stone tools, but I hopefully I will change that, and I'll start using a lot of these for knives and for woodworking and such. Okay, let's see. I've got some early stuff somewhere. Like I said, I've got a lot of stuff here. No, that's not my early stuff. Some of this is early, some of it's late. Some of it I wasn't satisfied with, so I just kind of put it, instead of in a broken box, put it in a box. I guess I could call the crappy work box. This stuff I didn't like. I thought it looked crappy. And there's some mistakes too, like this bite taken out of the side. That was kind of a bummer, so I stuck it in here. Some, like I think John Whitaker calls this a crescentic bite. And it's because of a platform that's too strong, and you put too much force and it just rips out some of the side. I'm tempted to call that like a reverse overshot, but I call it, in a lot of my videos, I call that a bite, and John Whitaker calls it a crescentic bite. Okay, I'll get off of that because I can go on forever. Let's see. And I think I showed one of these in a video. I've done all sorts of different styles and all sorts of different materials. This is raw alibates, and it was giving me some trouble, so I just abandoned it. This one is okay, but it's not material local to the area where these were made. This is like a northeast point made of Texas rock, and I believe this is don't know what the material that is actually, but it's not from the Northeast. Okay, so I stuck it in here because it's really not authentic enough for me. And early attempts at Clovis. I have a lot of early attempts at paleo. And some of these the kids played with, left them in the yard and such. Early attempt at a Montel. I think I was using this as a tool and then resharpened it. I've done a lot of cutting up meat and stuff with these. I've also done a little bit of woodworking, but not with this one here. I believe I was just cutting meat with this one, or something soft. I've done some woodwork with these tools, but they look totally different. They're not like this. Okay. Early attempts at a hunting type arrowhead. Early attempt at paleo. And a lot of my early rocks, and I think all this is done like in 2011, 2010, 2011. A lot of my early rocks were not heat treated. They were very poor quality, what I call bowl gravel that I would get from landscape yards. And it was giving me a lot of trouble, and that's why I developed the indirect percussion style that I've got to deal. This is heat treated, but most of this stuff is very, very difficult to knap. That's why I developed that technique to power through a lot of this raw stuff. Yeah, this is raw here. And the indirect percussion works really well on raw material compared to trying to do it with a just a normal pressure flaker. Now, I did some eccentrics in the beginning too, but these are done mainly with pressure. I broke that off. Let's see. And early attempts at Edwards. This is one of my favorite styles here. Anyway, I got a lot of stuff. And there's some stuff I've been saving that I use in my videos, and this is one that I use in my avatar for Jack Crafty on internet forums. It's an Edwards style, made of root beer shirt. And I got all my, well, not all of them, but most of my YouTube video points in here. This is a bone arrowhead. Okay. I got one eccentric in here that I used as a necklace for a long time. Now this one is actually based on a real artifact. I'm going to try to take this out with one hand. Okay. I broke the tip off while wearing it one day. Didn't know how I did it. Anyway, this is based on a real artifact from West Texas in a collection that belongs to a friend of mine. And I believe it's based on a Pueblo style arrowhead because it has like a bulbous base, and it just has that look of a Dolores arrowhead or something. If you take off these extensions, these barb extensions, it looks a lot like a Pueblo style. Gosh, I wish the lighting was better. Anyway, the one that's in his collection is made of white chalcedony. This one is made of root beer. I just like this material. Anyway, I made that toward the beginning of when I was flintknapping in 2010. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay, so a lot of these are raw in the beginning. When I first started I used mainly like 90% raw, and then after I learned about heat treating, everything became heat treated. And this is a heat treated piece here, and this is one of the largest ones I've done. It's a corner tang, similar to one found in one of the sites in Texas. I believe you can see, I might put a link to this. There's a drawing on a site called Texas Beyond History that shows this particular style buried with a with someone, with a young man, and he has this close to his forearm or somewhere near his hand. So I would imagine these were used either as a status symbol or maybe for fighting, who knows. Anyway, that's one of the largest ones I've done. I think that was 2014. Okay, so I've done different styles from all over the place. Here's another eccentric. I won't go through and name all these. A lot of these are from West Texas, these little ones here. And I got some over here too. Let's see. Another one of my favorites. The ones from West Texas here. Toya styles, a Harrell style there. Some, grade into each other, so they kind of look like Toyas and Harrells. This one is a Garza Star, a version of an Edwards. This one's a thicker version. This one's kind of thin this way. Very drastic barbs, very drastic needle tip. This is one of my latest ones. Another one of my latest ones here, Scalorn type, with very distinctive type of serrations that you see sometimes on these points. Okay, heat treated. Let's see. There's some knives I was working on lately with twigs for handles. Let's see. I've got boxes over here of all kinds of stuff. I don't know if, okay, I'll just go through a few of these. These are items that I've hafted in the past. These are just four-shafted items. I'm going to do a lot more of these soon. Most of the stuff I've hafted has been given away or sold. Let's see. Now most of these I did in 2012. This is bone. And I believe this is agave fiber and not sinew. But this is sinew here. This is backstrap sinew. Has kind of a different look than the leg sinew. I believe this is leg sinew. And this is also applied with tight bond glue. This particular one here. So it has not only a thicker, stronger sinew, but a kind of a different look, different color, more yellow than sinew normally looks. This one, I think it's in a video actually. Okay, and I've hafted knives or knife blades to bone. Now this one, I've kept this one because it cracked. Over time, some of these bones will crack. Now this bone here, I think it was boiled, so it is weakened. This is a pitch and a pedernales type of point. This type here, stuck into a bone. I think this is a deer leg bone. Let's see, hafted what they call a sloth slayer around here. Hafted Clovis, and I used elm bast, or the inner bark of an elm tree. to haft this. This is a reproduction of a basket maker type point and foreshaft. 240 grains. There's actually a lot of good preservation out here out west in the dry caves and pueblos of these type of things. And this is as close of a reproduction of a basket maker 2, I think, point. And I believe this is a San Pedro style projectile point. Okay. And I've got some bone points here. Let's see. I've also hafted a lot of trade points to make reproductions. These are just saved from arrows that have been either used up or broken or whatever. Let's see. Lots of these little points. I've got a gar scale hafted here. There's a lot of gar scales that look a lot like arrowheads, easily hafted. Okay, and I saved some of these just to remind myself what they look like. Okay, let's see. This is my favorite container, if you can't tell already. You know, I'll look at these from time to time. These are reproductions as close as I can get to what I think they actually look like. Okay, alright. Put some of this away here. Now I haven't done very much in the way of notching like this, but I have done some. This is a miniature andice just to get familiar with the shape and the proportions and stuff. You see the notches are not symmetrical. I have some more like that. Let's see, I guess not here. Mostly Texas types. This Laguna, that's a Laguna also. Some of my favorites are these Marcos points. The real ones are very thin and well made. This is my attempt at a reproduction. I don't think I have the edges correct on a lot of these reproductions. The actual artifacts have edges that are often very delicate or thicker than this, so I'm kind of in between. And I can't tell on real artifacts if there's been use wear or if they just didn't sharpen them all that sharp. But some of the real ones are extremely sharp and some of them are not. And I tried, this one here is one of my favorites. I tried to make an exact replica of one of the artifacts I've seen. And with this particular type of point, most of the thickness is near the base, which makes it really, really tough. And you can really do some good heavy-duty butchering with a tool like this, or as a projectile point that's very strong. Okay, so I've got probably too much to go over quickly, and I'm probably not holding the microphone close enough, sorry. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I've got some unusual stuff here, unusual little blade designs for pocket knives. I've got some stuff I experiment with, other designs. This is some of my recent stuff here, preforms. Let's see. I don't only do the Native American reproductions. I do other stuff. Recent knife blades. I think I was working on this yesterday. Yeah, this is the one from yesterday. I made this one of the same type of stone about 2 weeks ago. And I was experimenting with some knives where I put a notch in there, but I don't know if I liked the idea too much. It was just mainly to hold it, you know, more rigidly by putting a notch in the handle too, and then when I wrap it, the combination of the notch in the tang and the notch in the wood made it stronger, but it doesn't make it all that much stronger, so I'm going to stop doing it. But I did do it on this one here and this one. So these are knives going out to people. I've already got these assigned to friends of mine that want knives and stuff. So I do like doing this type of work because it's so much less stressful, so much less research. I don't have to be exact. And they're kind of fun because you get to use them, you know. They're not just wall hangers. Okay, and this is one of my keeper cases, I guess. Different materials separated. Some of my favorite stuff is the root beer stuff, so I keep these kind of separated. Eden or Scottsbluff type. One of my early Clovis attempts that came out really good, so I saved it. Didn't sell it or get rid of it or give it to the kids so they could, you know, break it. And I believe it's raw. Bandy type point. One of my first ones also. I think it was 2010 or 2011. Anyway, bunch of stuff. Kind of an eccentric looking Charcos type. Not really a reproduction, just kind of having fun with the design because I think the design is pretty cool as far as Charcos points are. And this is what they call Clovis Jasper, heat treated. Both of these. I mean, the colors range quite a bit in the Clovis Jasper. But it usually has some of this powdery stuff either in the cortex or near the cortex or, you know, in the material. Makes it a little bit of a challenge sometimes to nap, but the colors are awesome. This is more of that Clovis Jasper. Toya and Harold styles. Okay, 23 minutes. This one here is done with all natural materials, no copper. Most of this stuff was done with copper, but this one was not. This one was done with antler. Kind of a Carlsbad type. Laguna type, I guess. Could also be considered a can't remember the name now, but from East Texas they have points similar to this. Catahoula, I think. And, a little paleo type, again out of the Clovis. I've got some thin pieces made of Georgetown. Georgetown is in a raw state is excellent for thin pieces. It just holds together extremely well, and you can thin it down crazy thin sometimes. This is not crazy thin. I'm not that good. I've seen some guys that do crazy thin pieces. Let's see. That's about as thin as I can get without creating a bunch of step fractures. Because it's really hard to thin down a thin point. You know, when you get your preform really thin and then you start driving flakes across, trying to thin it down even more, they stall because the platforms are not very strong. So you get a lot of these step fractures. But some guys have perfected the method and they build their platforms much better than I do. and are able to achieve much more thinness, achieve thinness that's better than this. Okay. Another one of my little favorite points. I just like the proportions on this one, and the material too. I'll save anything that looks bluish grayish. Okay, so lastly, I think this is my favorite case here. I love the yellows. Anything yellow and orange, well, maybe not orange, but yellows are my favorite. I always save them. And a lot of these are recent work because I wasn't able to get yellow for many years. Well, not many, but for a couple of years there, I didn't know what to look for. Some of this I found on my own. Some of it I purchased off of other nappers as far as the yellow material. And sometimes I find this in the debitage at Nap-Ins. Like, I think this is a debitage point. Heat treated. And it was just a flake sitting someone discarded. Okay, and kind of a European style. Barbed and tanged. Just like the color on that one. I like the color on this one too. And this piece of alabates, I don't think I want to get rid of this one at all. I've had this one for a couple years, at least maybe 3 years. So yeah, these are my keepers here. I don't think I'll ever sell these. This one is raw alabates. Carlsbad, I believe. But a lot of these points out west are so similar. You know, the San Pedro, Carlsbad, they even resemble Ellis points from central and eastern Texas. Anyway, Scotts Bluff. I guess Agate Basin. Clovis type. St. Charles, I guess. I'm not sure what to call this one. Castroville, maybe. It's a very interesting chert that I found. This is stuff that I found in central Texas. There's a huge variety of chert in Texas, as a lot of you guys have found out. But when it comes to this yellow stuff, it's both a real hassle and a real pleasure to work with, because the end result, if you can get it to work, is fantastic. And it's very challenging. There's some areas in this one that were really bad as far as consistency. Anyway, it's one of my favorites. It wouldn't be a favorite if it wasn't yellow, though. It would look to me like a mess up. Okay. Frio. Another Frio. Bunch of those in there. And a couple of blue chert from Texas. A couple of, let's see, what would you call these? Washita? Washita types. Gosh, the lighting is terrible. Anyway, the blue, if I can get the blue, I'll never get rid of it. If I make a point out of blue chert, there's no way I'm getting rid of them. Alright, and I only have two after, I don't know how many, I guess 5 years of napping. I only found two pieces. They were big enough to nap. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up. It's almost 30 minutes. That'll kind of give you an idea of what I've been working on lately. And what I started with. I still got a ton of material that I don't think I showed you guys. But it's mainly just, you know, raw stonework. Kind of lumpy, kind of steppy. Okay. All right, that's it.